This is the Work Smart Hypnosis Podcast, session number 432. Kind of. Hey there, it's Jason Lynette. It is, ironically, almost 2 years to the date after episode 432 of this podcast series first released, and what I'm about to do is something that I'll be the first to tell you I am not good at, because I've only ever had to do this one other time before. And what's the thing you've only had to do one other time before? It's that I saw that it was appropriate to go in and not necessarily delete a podcast episode and leave a questionable gap in the 10-year series here, but instead replace the audio. Because to say it directly, I would never say that someone doesn't deserve any platform, but I will not hesitate to say that someone, based on their actions, does not deserve to share my platform, and I will silence their voice and delete their content and strike their history from this program. It's happened only one other time before, and today is the second time. And the brief version of the story, which, by the way, keep listening, because my purpose of doing this isn't to name and shame. I won't even say a name because it's not even worth mentioning here. Instead, though, my goal is to leave everybody better off than I found them. And I know that I've already got one person who's upset with me, and I know in the journey of this, they might get even more upset, and I am completely at peace with that, and I'm okay with that. So the brief version of the story, we have our Work Smart Hypnosis private Facebook community. Everybody's welcome. And we had somebody recently who started to abuse a rule that I have in that group, which everybody sees this rule when they join the community, which is that I do something a little out of the ordinary. I let people share invites, promotional opportunities inside of that group. However, there's a very easy to follow rule attached to this. You have to provide more value to that community. You have to be an active member of that community to earn the right to also post promotional content. This is very easy to do. You know, people ask questions, swoop in, answer them. Someone asks for something, point to a resource. It doesn't even have to be your own. Be a good community member, provide value, and that way then, hey, you've got a book coming out in a few months, and you've got a place that your message is now welcome. I mean, I've given more airtime to the rest of this industry than I've even given myself in the 10 years of putting out this podcast program. That's just a simple fact here at this point. So we had somebody who started to abuse the promotional rule. I sent a few polite messages. They ignored it. They continued posting, and it's one of the rules. It's very straightforward. And at that point, I just give up and I delete the person from the community and ban them. So if it had just stopped there, that'd be okay. Here's where lines were crossed, and keep listening here because, again, my goal is to leave everybody better off than I found them. So the real core problem that was the reason why this person's episode has been stricken from the record and removed from all history of the Work Smart Hypnosis podcast. I'm going to share something with everybody that's very easy to do and would have prevented this issue mostly, except for the extremely unethical part, which, let's go there now. I started to get some private messages from this person directly leveraging my father's death from about 2 months ago as the reason why, quote, my beautiful mind was poisoned by someone else's hatred. And they continued on. I'm not going to even give them a place here of quoting or even paraphrasing, but directly using emotional leverage off of my father's recent death to explain why it was wrong that I removed them from my community, which, no, not at all. No, you broke rules and we kicked you out. You're not welcome anymore, because I was getting complaints and I was complaining about it too, going, this person just doesn't get it, and just we kicked out. So the story of my father dying has nothing to do with this recent experience. And actually, let me click over here to something I shared online a moment ago, which I'll likely not keep this other post up for long. I'm keeping it up briefly because a few people saw this as it happened, but let me find this part of this here. Here we go. For those that care, for a personal update, the holidays were amazing here. We had 11 kids and 7 adults in my house yesterday for a big Christmas gathering. It was loud. It was crazy. It was great. My mother and I had a moment to talk about how my dad would have loved it, but also how it was clearly his time a few months ago when he passed after fighting for his life for 47 days in the hospital to bring his story of a 6-year journey to try to save his heart to an end. So I was there for, I believe, either 44 or 45 of the days. I didn't want my dad to be there by himself. And the fortunate yet unfortunate part of this journey were those 47 days in the hospital, because it allowed us to process everything, deal with it, be aware of what it would have looked like if there was any recovery that was possible. And I choose my words carefully, and to have this piece of shit asshole start to send me messages trying to explain that I was acting out on unresolved grief from my father's death based upon their actions of inappropriate promotion. Oh, just shut the fuck up and you don't deserve to be a part of this program ever again. Love and light, positivity, hashtag we help people. So, hey, that's the end of the story, as it's worth sharing. Everybody here is doing great. And let me share something of value that you all can benefit from here now, which is the formula to actually provide value anywhere, but also then provide value in a way that positions you as the clear solution to also, help somebody is not that difficult. And here's how you can do it in 4 steps. This is something I've shared for quite a while now. You might have heard me talk about it before, but it sure is an interesting context to share it here now, isn't it? Yeah. Okay, so 4-step content framework to provide value. And okay, now I'm wanting to be the smartass here. Without having to attempt emotional blackmail and leverage other people's family members' deaths to allow yourself to post in Facebook groups. No, don't do that. Okay, so here's the formula. The first part of the marketing journey is you got to grab people's attention. You do this with a hook. And a hook can be done with either one of 2 simple formulas. It can be done with a bold statement, or it can be done with a question that invokes curiosity. So let's branch off of helping people to quit smoking here. Easy example. Bold statement: quitting smoking can be a whole lot easier than everything you've ever tried before in your past. Hey, there's a bold statement. Or here's another variation of it to be done with the alternate version of the hook, a question, which could be, what if the next time you try to quit smoking, you finally move on and take back control of your life? Now, see, what you've done there is you've actually grabbed the attention of your desired audience, and now they want to hear more. Now, the best way to keep the attention of the audience is to provide actual value. So here's where this should be easy for most of you. Provide something of actual value. Here's an easy context for it. If you ever feel that craving for a cigarette, here's a simple 3-step formula you can use to identify the craving and then dial its power all the way down to 0. For anybody out there who's listening to this program who has any experience with anything hypnosis, I mean, a couple of dozen strategies could now be shared. Hey, here's a quick self-hypnosis strategy. Here's a quick peripheral vision thing. Thank you, Overdurf, Melissa Tears, and many others who talk about the power of peripheral vision. Here's a simple, reframe. Here's something of that. Here's something valuable. So, again, step 1, hook, grab attention. Step 2, provide actual value. Step 3 is where this gets interesting. This is where now you have, by providing value, stepped into a position of authority, which gives you permission to start to layer in a message that will become promotional without becoming overtly promotional too soon. However, so basically you're going to point out the gap. You're going to point out, as helpful as the thing is that you just shared, you're going to point out something that's missing. So as helpful as that can be to deal with those cravings, what about getting rid of the cravings altogether and not having to worry about one of them coming back. See how I did that? Also, take note of the linguistics there. I validated how helpful the previous thing was. And I did that while also pointing out something that is not yet addressed. Here's another variation of the same thing. Now, as helpful as that is to deal with those cravings, what about all the emotional connections and associations you've created that are still there that need to be addressed in addition to those cravings? Do you see how this is now continuing the story? This is continuing to provide value. And this is where now the final step of this is not just a call to action, but a call to action that clearly is designed to then fill in that missing gap that you just pointed out. If that's something you want some help doing, that's why I do work with people one-to-one. Go to this specific location to schedule a call, say this word in a comment under this post, send me a direct message with this word if you're curious to learn more. Do you see how it's all very motivated? The overall formula here, once again, was 4 steps: hook, value, spotlight the gap, give a call to action to fill the gap. And hey, look at that. You can actually promote in a way that provides value and doesn't inappropriately try to leverage the death of family members and get you kicked out of Facebook groups and gets your Work Smart Hypnosis podcast deleted.